I know I normally talk about popular shows on this channel, but I've been morbidly curious about this obscure BBC pilot from the 60s for a long time, and I wanted to share it with somebody. They've only just put it on BBC iPlayer, so you can go and check it out for yourselves. It's for a show called Doctor Who. It was made in 1963 and it was only ever broadcast once, between the BBC sports show Grandstand and a pop music show called Jukebox Jury. The idea was to have a show that will appeal to people interested in sports and the teenagers tuning in for the pop music. And for some reason they decided to go with the sci-fi show. That's part of why I'm so fascinated by it, because it's a bit of a random suggestion, you know, let's take these two disparate audience subsets and try them on a bit of sci-fi. Apparently the idea was that an alien called the Doctor, who appears as a grandfather-like figure, uses his time machine to take some humans back to famous historical periods. It was founded on the basis of the BBC's principles as a public service broadcaster, which are to inform, educate and entertain. Doctor Who covering the education and entertainment. Doctor Who's premise probably wouldn't work nowadays because it's a very 60s idea. You picture all the family gathering around the fireplace to hear Grandad regale them with tales of ancient civilizations. And that just doesn't really happen nowadays, does it? Because the internet's eating everyone's attention spans. And if it did happen nowadays, kids can live fact-check Grandpa's stories and pick him up on historical inaccuracies. That and the fact that kids don't want to listen to their granddad's rambling stories anymore has been a running joke in pop culture for quite a long time. That was the point of Grandpa from The Simpsons. Doctor Who was basically a remnant of an old era where oral folk tales were being actively replaced by mass media. The television was essentially invented to replace the grandparent telling children's stories, and Doctor Who basically documented this replacement process in real time. You'd have to do some serious reinvention if you wanted to remake this concept in the modern world, and... wait a sec, wait. Does anyone else... I feel... Does anyone else feel weird? I kind of understand why Doctor Who never made it past a pilot, because the creative team clearly went against the educational brief. It's 25 minutes long and I didn't learn anything from it. And the pilot that they made was actually quite creepy. It's mostly set at a school on Earth and it's about a teenage girl called Susan, and her teachers think she's weird. She gives odd answers in class, tends not to look directly at people when they're speaking to her. And look at the way she's dancing here to contemporary rock and roll music. Everything about this girl just feels unnatural. The teachers, Ian and Barbara, have heard that she's being taken care of by her grandfather. But Barbara tells Ian that she visited their registered address and just found a junkyard.
She seemed quite interested until I said I'd be willing to work with her at her home. Then she said that would be absolutely impossible as her grandfather didn't like strangers.
There's potentially a really dark way of reading what's going on with this girl. Susan is clearly not right in the head, and the camera work paints this picture of a terrified child who's being told to hide what's going on at home. When she's confronted in classes about things she gets wrong, the camera just centres squarely on Susan's face, and she cowers in fear. The way it's delivered, there's this intensity to the teacher's probing questions that you just wouldn't expect from a show that was pitched as a fun adventure for all the family.
Do the problem that's set, Susan.
I can't, Mr. Chesterton. You can't simply use 3 of them.
3 of them?
What you've got in Doctor Who here are the seeds of a harrowing drama about a troubled young girl. But then it takes a complete 180-degree turn at this moment here, where Ian and Barbara have stalked Susan home to the junkyard. There's an altercation with the grandfather, and Barbara gets inside this old police box, which if you didn't know, they're basically specialised phone boxes designed for calling the police. And Barbara gets inside this police box and finds it's bigger on the inside. This police box is like this weird, unreal piece of architecture. It's like an Escher drawing or something. There's a degree of dream logic about this reveal. It's like we're watching a nightmare that one of the teachers is having while they're lying in bed at night trying to figure out the mystery of this strange, disturbed young girl from their school, and their brain has gone to the oddest place imaginable. The old man and the girl then reveal that they're aliens, and that this is their spaceship that's disguised itself as a piece of junk.
We are not of this race. We are not of this earth. We are wanderers in the 4th dimensions of space and time.
It's true, every word of it's true. You don't know what you've done coming here.
Far from being a cheesy and stupid reveal, I think the lack of an obvious alien appearance to these two is what makes it work. The actress playing Susan had to really rely on the way she moved and altering her speech patterns to convey this alien-like quality to her. It's a wonderful performance and a true demonstration of how less is more, because you can imagine a low-budget sci-fi production on the BBC in the 60s giving alien characters weird appendages or bug eyes just so, we know they're aliens. But these two aliens who look and sound like regular people, revealing their bizarre alien ship and claiming to be not of this world, is such a thoroughly unsettling moment that's haunted me ever since I found this random pilot floating around the internet several years ago. The old man then locks the door and claims these teachers can never leave, and he gives this creepy laugh when they can't get out. The grandfather and Susan then set the time machine travelling, and it winds up in this dark and creepy landscape. And then just before the credits roll, we see the shadow of a figure arrive. We never learn who this shadowy figure is. There's something Lovecraftian about it. I'm just captivated by this image, really. Who is this shadowy figure? What does it want? Will the teachers ever escape the aliens? Will they ever go home again? Unfortunately, we never found out. The BBC had a ton of complaints over this show. Apparently children were terrified that anyone they know could secretly be an alien who'll kidnap them and take them away to another dimension. That and the lack of desired educational content meant the Director General at the time said it went against the BBC's remit and pulled the plug, and we never heard anything out of the show again, which I think is a damn shame. And wait a minute. It's happening again. I'm getting deja vu. Does anyone else feel weird? It's like I've forgotten something and I'm trying to remember. Anyway, there's just something about the atmosphere of this little 25-minute piece of drama that makes me find it so utterly fascinating. It just feels like this tiny hypnotic snapshot of another world that doesn't exist anymore. You just don't get TV shows like Doctor Who anymore. And so it's happening again. Does anyone else feel really, really weird? Anyway, go and check out Doctor Who on iPlayer now.